And welcome back to ABCNews.com Stopline. We're joined now by Republican strategist Kevin Madden, a happy Bengals fan this week.
Yes,
we should point out.
rare happy Bengals fan.
Well, let's start with the Olympics. President Obama heading over there. We heard earlier in the show from your old boss, Mitt Romney, loving what the president's doing. I almost had to replay that soundbite. But maybe he's got some kind of private assurances here. But if he goes and he's wrong, and that's the day that we get jobs numbers back on Friday, and we've got the healthcare debate going on, what are we talking about on Saturday?
You know, I think anytime you take a high-profile trip like this, there's going to be a certain level of political risk. I think, especially given the pressures that we have on so many domestic fronts. But I think the American people will afford the president 24 hours to go over there and make his case for America and getting the Olympics, Chicago getting the Olympics. And I think it's probably a mistake by anybody to read too much into it, to kind of hyper-analyze it and offer, criticism that is just reflexive. It's criticism for criticism's sake. So, I think there's a minimal risk, but like, you and David said earlier, that they wouldn't go over there if they didn't think that they could bring home the gold.
Sure, there you go.
You're talking about the reflexive criticism. I mean, the Republican Party Chairman, Michael Steele, Senator Kit Bond, Republican from Missouri, have been out there truly saying that, like, as if he can't focus on the Olympics and on healthcare in Afghanistan and other issues. Is that just a waste of time for them to be doing that? It's just not credible, you're saying?
Well, I think it's their opinion, but I think that Governor Romney's point is probably shared by a lot of folks, that if it's important for America, it's going to bring economic development to the United States. It's going to again put the United States on the national stage. That's it's worth the president's time.
And we'll see if it's the equivalent of inviting all those Republicans over to the Super Bowl.
But this is not just true, apparently. Mitt Romney, greater love for the Olympics than partisan warfare.
There you go.
Well, I mean, what's the point of just having criticism for criticism's sake? I mean, if Governor Romney had some sort of long, thought-out critique and it showed great danger, I'm sure he would have offered it. But since he didn't believe so, I think what you saw was an honest analysis by the governor.
Healthcare, big votes today in the Finance Committee. The public option, liberals have been pushing for this to be included in the bill. They'll get their votes this afternoon. Senators Rockefeller and Schumer. No one really thinks it's going to pass. But what does this do you think, to the political equation moving forward?
Well, I think that's the key, is that right now what you're seeing, the public option is driving the political debate here within 5 or 6 square blocks up on Capitol Hill. But what I'm really going to be watching is whether or not, when they finish this amendment process and then they try and merge these two bills up on the Senate side, and then they go to the CBO, that score is what's going to drive the public debate. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have a big fat number that somebody is going to have to either explain, and they're going to have to move very quickly to do it, or it's going to be held up as a reason to vote against it, that this is just another $1 trillion spending price tag out of Washington, D.C.
Well, the president has put his price tag on it. He said he won't. He was looking for a $900 billion bill over 10 years. No more.
$900 billion is a lot of money, and that is going to be really hard to explain.
But that's already out there. I mean, do we need?
And I think that's what's driving the public's dissatisfaction with this bill right now. I think there is a case to be made that some folks are worried about how a public option would possibly dilute their care or change their plan. But what's really driving this right now, I think, and you see this among the largest group of voters that the president has deserted the president and the Democrats, which is independents. It's driven by costs.
And do you think, though, that getting this vote out there in the public option, does that help the effort moving forward with the left, that they already got theirs? Or are we still going to be talking about a big fight that over these flashpoints that, as you say, aren't really critical?
No, I think you're right. I think the problem for the House side of the equation is that many of those blue dogs are going to look at a bill that, say, if it doesn't have a public option coming out of the Senate, they're going to say, well, I want to vote for that bill. And then you're going to have many progressives that are going to say, that bill's a non-starter that's come out of the Senate because it doesn't have a public option. So it really does scramble the equation, and it puts us back to square one. And that's why I think that we're all going to be singing Christmas carols by the time that we know whether or not this bill is even going to get a signature.
Let me turn your attention to Afghanistan in our final minute here. The president is now going to convene this sort of war council in a public way. I mean, the meetings will happen privately, but we know there are going to be these multiple meetings. He is in a very public decision-making process now. What, if you were sitting in the Oval Office advising him, what would you tell him to be most aware of in this time period, which is going to be weeks, not months?
I think the biggest problem that he would have right now in the long term would be, had he gone back on his campaign promise that we were going to put our eye back on Afghanistan. That would be the most central to any any concern that I have. I think the reason that he's having a public debate right now is he's informing the public, he's informing his allies, and he's informing his critics that there are really no good options here, that this is a very, very difficult decision. And when people understand the complexities of it all, they'll be a little bit less likely to criticize him as being hyper-political one way or the other.
It's going to be an interesting couple of
It's
weeks,
very
as you
much
mentioned.
so.
Kevin
Very
Madden,
much so.
Republican strategist, thanks for being
Great
here.
to be with you guys.
Thank you very much. That does it for this edition of Top Line. Be sure to click us on again tomorrow. Welcome back, Father Rick Klein. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Klein.
Thank you. It's twitter.com/TheNote. You get updates on Note Baby as well as everything else. And guys, I still woke up earlier than the baby, but he was up all night as well.
there you go.